Howdy y'all, and welcome to my review of Red Dead Redemption 2. I won't be talking like that for the whole video, so I'll just revert back to speaking normally. Now, if you're one of the people that played Red Dead Redemption 1 on or near its release in 2010, then you may still remember playing it on the PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360. And since then, you'll likely have run out of empty space on your wall after scratching it full of tally marks, like a prisoner counting down their days till release. 8 years since Red Dead Redemption 1. Actually, 8 years, 5 months, and 8 days to be precise. But who's counting? The hotly anticipated Red Dead Redemption 2 was finally released for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on the 26th of October 2018, and ported over onto PC a year later. Rockstar Games has no shortage of experience and pedigree when creating expansive games as seen with this portfolio. And like some of those games, this action-adventure open-world game was also built using their proprietary Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, often referred to as Rage, which has been in service since their table tennis game that dates all the way back to 2006. But of course, the engine has been regularly updated since then. Development of 2 started during the development cycle of the first Red Dead Redemption, and estimates put Red Dead Redemption 2's combined development and marketing cost somewhere between $370 million and $540 million US, which means that nobody has a clue how much the game costs. But even at the low end of $370 million, it's still one of the most expensive games ever created, rivaling even the biggest blockbuster films. Just to put it into perspective, Avengers: Infinity War had an estimated budget of somewhere between $325 to $400 million US. So was this money and time well spent? Let's revisit America during a simpler time and find out. Spacious skies, amber waves of grain, purple mountain majesties, and fruited plains. It's all here. The game looks incredible, and is incredibly realistic. It's up there with some of the best looking games of its generation. Just before turning into the 20th century, the United States looks pristine and hasn't become a global polluting juggernaut just yet. Much of it is still unsettled, undisturbed, unspoiled, unpaved, and unexplored, while the West remains the last bastion of lawlessness. At this point in history, 5 states have still yet to be admitted into the Union, and the estimated population of the US was around 70 million. As you ride from freezing summits to open plains, from humid swamps of the bayou into large urban cities, and everything in between, you'll be treated to great sceneries that will continually fuel your sense of adventure. The dynamic weather is amazing, and if you're lucky, you'll even see a few lightning strikes. There aren't many games set during the American expansion into the West, and this was such a great vision of what it could have been like.
And where would a brave knight be without his noble steed?
Alright, I hope you heard that. She called me a noble steed.
As you travel through the American Midwest and South, you'll primarily be on horseback. You'll acquire a trusty steed that you will bond with, increasing his or her stats. Traveling, as everything in this game, is more on the realistic side, so it can be slow. For better or worse, they make it worth your while, as you'll be able to appreciate the landscape. But for those who are impatient, you will be able to unlock fast travel through camp upgrades. Use the map at your home base, or set up camp in the open world to fast travel. Pull up your old school GPS at any time to check your location and mark waypoints. And it even shows topography, which can be helpful. There are a few graphical bugs, such as Arthur deciding he wanted to eat his ammo belt, or putting on a world-class ventriloquist act during cutscenes, but nothing game-breaking. Optimization was decent, and improvements have been made since its release onto PC, including the addition of Nvidia's DLSS. I followed an optimization guide to boost frame rates while sacrificing the least amount of visuals, and I would recommend doing that. I'll post my settings in the description below. There's a steep learning curve for the controls. Since there are so many things you can do, there are so many buttons you can press for each action. I just wanted to pet a horse, but now I'm a wanted man for animal abuse for accidentally punching it. However, aside from that, they were very accurate and responsive as they should be. Mounted controls were fairly smooth, and controls during combat were well done. I played on PC with the mouse and keyboard. You don't quite get the preciseness of playing on a controller for finer movements such as walking, but shooting with the mouse is much easier. Occasionally during missions, you'll have to administer some frontier justice in the form of gunslinging.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
Combat is in third-person perspective, and you have one ability you can use called Deadeye that was also previously used in the original game, which, when activated, will slow down time so you can tag enemies and unleash a barrage of bullets in quick succession. Similar to Gears of War, there's also a cover system where you can hide behind objects for protection during firefights. Like in other games, such as many Resident Evil games, your accuracy will improve during normal combat if you allow for the reticle to focus. Mounted combat was also well done, giving you freedom of movement to shoot in all directions. Turning your character's camera to shoot someone on your side will also cause your horse to turn, but you can compensate with the movement keys so you don't collide with oncoming targets, but it will take some getting used to. Your horse can be seriously injured or even killed, and if you didn't bring your horse reviver, you'll need to find a new horse. Diverting from mainstream game design, Red Dead Redemption 2 does not have multiple difficulty settings. Only after you've completed a mission will you find out optional objectives. Completing optional objectives will award you higher medals, broken down between bronze, silver, and gold. You can at any time replay a mission to complete optional objectives if you choose to. Truth be told, the game isn't that hard, but if you ever fail part of a mission 3 times, you'll have the option to skip that segment. The voice acting is superb. Arthur and some of the more prominent members of camp are well written and, unlike me, have great line delivery. Even many side characters were given lots of love and attention to detail. The dialogue is well written and natural. The script is written like a good film and contains plenty of nuances that make each character unique.
So I've graduated from chopping vegetables to shopping?
Shut your goddamn mouth.
The game takes place in a fictionalized version of the United States, starting in the year 1899, and predates Red Dead Redemption 1 by 12 years. If it was in our timeline, William McKinley was president, and 34 years have passed since the end of the American Civil War. New York City only just integrated Queens and Staten Island. The Spanish-American War Peace Treaty was ratified by the United States Senate, and voting machines were approved for use in federal elections. Not that you'll be doing any voting in this game. If you haven't guessed, you aren't the voting type. Some real-world historical events are mentioned in passing as the game straddles between historical and fictional. 1899 is also the year where a massive blizzard blanketed the eastern half of North America, which is where our story begins. The age of outlaws is at an end as the country turns to embrace law and order, so naturally you'll play as an outlaw named Arthur Morgan. You're on the run, hunted by the law, a dying breed fighting to survive and turn to a new, more peaceful way of life. As the Vanderlyn gang finds a suitable place to hide, your leader, Dutch Vanderlyn, tells everyone they'll need to work and contribute to the camp funds.
But now, when things are desperate, we have to stick with the plan. Make enough money, then find somewhere where nobody will find us, where we don't have to hide.
As the gang tries to earn, rob, and even kill for enough money to eventually retire from the outlaw days, their past isn't something they can easily outrun. The game, at times, plays like an interactive movie. Cutscenes are plentiful and switch between first and third-person perspective. You'll really get that sense when some cutscenes narrow to a theatrical aspect ratio to really give you a cinematic feel. The game even allows you to activate cinematic camera controls, which allows you to cycle between different camera angles and control some parts of the game's cinematography. Arthur is a well-developed character, and the story touches on many different types of conflict that not only help develop our protagonist, but also the world. Alongside Arthur, there's a strong, colorful cast of characters. You've already been introduced to the leader of the Vanderlyn gang, Dutch, who you will learn more about as the game progresses. An old Navy veteran turned camp chef that drowns his PTSD away with alcohol. A fan favorite, John Marston from his outlaw days before he sets off on his own journey in Red Dead Redemption 1, and many more that are worth meeting on your journey. As you progress through the story and look towards a brighter future, you'll encounter and fight many rival gangs, and learn more about Arthur's past and other members of the Vanderlyn gang. Experience laughter, camaraderie, sorrow, loss, betrayal, and a wide range of emotions that have no business being in a video game. The game progresses through several chapters or acts, consisting of a series of missions. Each chapter becomes progressively longer, and progression can feel a little slow at times. Add in the many distractions that can lure your attention away, and that means story progression can sometimes take a back seat. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there are so many interesting things to do in this game. Completing the game to 100% can easily take over 100 hours. I myself only completed the game to 87% in 99 hours, and that doesn't even include the extras that don't count towards the in-game progression counter. You're given choices during missions and overworld events that may or may not affect the outcome of your story. Contend with moral dilemmas that slide your honor meter up or down. Your actions will dictate the type of character you'll become. Although the game is long, the game's pacing is well done for the most part. There aren't any level requirements or prerequisites that will stop you from plowing forth through main missions, which means that you can set your own pace. You can choose to blitz through the game and complete it relatively quickly if you only want to engage in the main story missions. Or you can be like me, say that you want to progress the story, but be distracted by every animal and side quest that you cross paths with. There was never any grinding in the game, so even though the story progresses at a leisurely pace, it never stops unless that's what you decide. There are plenty of side quests in the game. Just like the main missions, each side quest is well written, fully voice acted, and most are worth doing. You'll also encounter strangers during your travels that will unlock special quest lines, such as helping an aspiring archaeologist study dinosaur bones, or collecting plants to help this herb-loving hippie botanist.
I'm seeing what I'm thinking. I know good and well y'all ain't gambling back here. It's supposed to be a Chinese restaurant.
Talk to the right people, and you'll hear rumors through the grapevines that may lead you to a secret place. Find mutilated bodies to unmask the identity of a dangerous serial killer. There'll also be bounties posted in town that could be interesting, and are also a good way to earn some cash early on. Play some table games such as poker and dominoes if you feel like gambling. Hunt game to provide food for yourself and your fellow outlaws. If you really want a challenge, there are legendary animals you can hunt that will provide you with animal parts for unique trinkets with bonuses. There are plenty of collectibles in the game. They come in the form of collectible cigarette cards you can find when looting the homes of your poor victims. There's also a compendium that will fill out as you learn more about certain animals, plants, and different weapons and items you find. Stay in an area and look around, and you might find a dream catcher in a tree. Helping strangers and completing challenges will also count towards overall progress. There's no shortage of collectibles and side activities, and many were really fun and engaging. You'll have a home base that you can return to. You and the other gang members, but mostly you, will contribute to a camp fund. Progress a little further, and you'll be able to access the ledger to purchase items and upgrades for camp. Whether you want more supplies, or better lodging, you can choose to spend the money how you see fit. There's a shaving station near your tent where you can trim your unkempt beard, and a water basin where you can wash your dirty face. You can also manage your character's well-being. From time to time you have to rest to recharge your cores, and eat regularly to keep up your health, although I don't think you can starve to death. There are perks and drawbacks to being overweight or underweight. Herbs found in the world can help spice up recipes you cook. You'll have to maintain your weapons so they perform well during heavy firefights. It's another level of immersion and realism not often found in other games. But it can be very overwhelming at first, and is certainly a learning curve you have to overcome to enjoy this game. There's also an honor system. Arthur's honor will slide on a spectrum based on how you choose to play. You can rob, steal, and kill your way to being the most notorious man alive, or play as an honorable, law-abiding citizen. There's no wrong way to play, and it's cool to be able to choose. As you make your way across the country, you'll be able to gather crafting materials from animals you hunt. William Pearson, the gang's chef, will be able to create satchels with upgraded capacities from animal parts you collect. You can also craft items to decorate not only your humble tent, but also upgrade furniture around the camp. Later on, you'll have access to additional items through fences and animal trappers. As you dispense justice, or sow chaos across America, you'll hogtie crazy ladies, shoot mad lads, and find lots of knickknacks along the way. There are plenty of things to acquire, and not all by legitimate means. Some places have shady back doors you can access if you play your cards right that usually provide a nice reward. Not all store owners are stand-up citizens, and some have access to some nice items. The game doesn't have an encumbered mechanic, but there is a limit to how much you can carry. The looting can be a bit tedious. It's realistic, so Arthur will pick up each individual item, turn over each body to check pockets, and undergo every skinning animation for each animal you choose to skin. There are a few customization options in the game. At camp, you'll be able to change outfits and also store a few on your horse for the road. If you ever grow tired of your wardrobe, browse the catalog in town to see the outfits and clothing options you can purchase. Wearing clothing more suited for the environment you're in will change how Arthur will perform under certain conditions. There are also weapon upgrades and cosmetic customizations you can purchase from shops in town to upgrade damage, accuracy, ammo capacity, and the look of your weapon. Many tracks fell by the wayside, but there were also many notable tracks. The music was well done, but the really memorable music was usually reserved for the important, intense, or intimate moments. The full weight of the soundtrack doesn't entirely set in until after you've completed the story. The sound design was also quite good. The sound of the wind and your horse galloping through the countryside was great. The crackling of lightning and the power of firing your rifles and revolvers really helped bring this game to life. If you want to live out your fantasy of playing as the man with no name from the Dollars trilogy, then you'd be hard-pressed to find a game quite like this. Transported into a time long gone, into a world etched in fading memories, Red Dead Redemption 2 extends a welcoming hand for players to enter into a transitional time period of America's history. As the fledgling nation recovers from an oppressive civil war and turns to look towards a brighter future, ushered in through a network of steel powered by the Industrial Revolution, you'll play as Arthur Morgan, a man with steadfast loyalties trying to survive and roll with the changing times the only way he knows how. Immerse yourself in this beautiful landscape, full of life and second chances. With dynamic weather and a full day and night cycle, the world is visually stunning. Traveling through the United States will have you witness all manner of things ordinary and extraordinary. The world is huge, and not necessarily in the literal sense, although the map is also big. It's packed with activities, events, and missions. Both the main and side missions were well written, making them feel meaningful. Side missions add a different dimension to the game, and shows that not everything revolves around our protagonist. There was an entire world to explore simply by tilting your joystick or pressing a key, and you'll never know what you'll come across. The controls were good, and the combat is solid. It's not a difficult game as the gameplay is mainly a vehicle to help immerse the player into the narrative-driven story. Well written, cinematic, long, leisurely but well paced, the story is akin to a television drama or film series. The voice acting was superb and all the actors did a great job. Enhanced by a beautifully written score, the music adds a layer of auditory depth and draws nostalgia from spaghetti westerns that most certainly served as inspiration. Connect and build relationships with the members of the motley crew, as they each have their own story. Embark on an emotional American saga through the rural countryside to the smog-filled industrial urban centers. Experience companionship, intimacy, joy, frustration, wonder, resentment, grief, and fulfillment as each mission takes you to lands unknown. If you're interested in a narrative-driven, open-world game with well-developed characters, look no further. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game that is worth the time investment, and one I highly recommend. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy your time in 1899.
Is it for what? Arresting me for what? I'm not allowed to stand up for myself? I thought this was America. Huh? Isn't this America? I'm sorry, I thought this was America.